Very good. All right, I'm ready, so it'll be a few minutes. I know my mic's on. Sorry. I know my mic's on. Sorry. My volume's up. All right, everybody, we're going to get started in 1 minute. Not even. About a minute. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. And I know some people are watching on YouTube as well. I want to welcome you to the 10-Minute Trades Trade Room. We're going to look at Netflix earnings, and then we're going to stay in the room for the oil report, the API report. But Chantal, the stream is going to end after Netflix. Okay. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the trading director at 10-Minute Trades. Just remember, please, that all the trades we discuss are for educational purposes. It is possible to lose money trading futures. Please trade carefully, okay? Now, I know there's going to be quite a few new people here, so I don't want anybody to panic. It's just a complete fluke that the first two trade rooms that we have after our big sale are both trading very differently than the way we normally trade. So I don't want anybody to get upset. Don't panic. You're not going to know or understand hardly anything about what I'm doing in the first trade room in the Netflix. And it's because it wouldn't be expected that you would know what I'm doing, because I'm using a setup that you've probably never even seen before. But it is important that everybody new create an account for yourself and make sure that you log into the member website and start watching the quick start videos and watch the videos on the software, because there's lots of setups and lots of videos explaining many of the things that we do in the trade room. Nothing covers everything, but there's a lot of information on the website, and it is necessary to go through it. It'll make your learning much quicker and much more. It'll just help you to trade faster and better. Okay, I promise you that. That it will do. Because the setup I'm using for earnings is nothing even remotely similar to what we use for most all of our other trades. And ironically, our oil report also has a unique setup. It's just by fluke that we have a couple of different things today. The oil report, that is more expected that you'll be able to deal with that and learn that pretty fast. The way that I do earnings is very unusual. I don't really expect many people to do it. It's almost for fun more than anything else, because a lot of the times you're not even going to get filled because it's such a strange way to trade. I'm using the NQ as a proxy for some of the FANG stocks. And the FANG stocks are Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, or Alphabet, I would say. Now, also, what's interesting about this earnings period, I don't know that we can assume that everything is going to take place the way it did in the past, because the market no longer halts at 4:15 p.m. Eastern Time to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. There were many earnings reports that we didn't even consider looking at because they were, being announced in that halted period of time. So I think that it's very prudent to be extra careful this earning period, this quarter, because there's a big change. That's a pretty dramatic change in the market. That a market that used to be open at a certain time when lots of earnings were being announced, used to be closed, is now open. So it can radically make things different. It can change the times that the companies release their earnings. That's the big thing that could happen. So all the times that we used to depend on, I'm not so sure we can depend on them like we used to. Okay, so think of this roughly first half hour, unless you've been a member for a long time, think of this first half hour just as an educational, fun half hour, because you're probably not going to know what I'm doing. And don't worry about it. Over time, you're going to learn what I'm doing. But I just want to stress that what I'm doing today it's very different from what we normally do. But I'm still going to explain what I do because it's my job to teach, okay? And eventually, it sinks in. So that's the whole deal, just so you know. So the reason we use the NQ as a proxy is because we've noticed over the years that on the big FANG stocks, the big tech stocks, the NQ has dramatic moves at times. And there are a couple other stocks that might be worth looking at. There's a couple others that we've traded, so we know there's a couple of others that are worth looking at above and beyond the FANG stocks. Intel sometimes moves, and sometimes they don't, and sometimes you get filled horribly and you lose money. This is not family money trading, okay? This is just understanding that our software is really powerful, and it does a lot of things that if we don't ever show you what it can do, then you're never going to know what it can do. So it just happens to be a fluke today that we have our first room as earnings. But a couple of things. So normally, when I trade in the room, I have my left side chart, which is my trading chart. So if I'm trading natural gas, I'm normally trading on my left side chart. And I'm often watching a second index on my right chart. I might be, if I'm trading the NQ, there might be a secondary setup with the ES, or it might be a report that actually has two indexes that we trade both, not always at the same time, more often one or the other, depending on how the markets are. But in this case, I have a multi-broker NinjaTrader account, and I'm connected to NinjaTrader on my left chart and TD Ameritrade on my right chart, okay? And you pay extra to NinjaTrader for a multi-broker account. It's just, but it gives you the feature of being able to look at a stock like Netflix, and I can see the actual price of Netflix at the moment, just like I can watch futures, as long as everything's working properly. And sometimes, sometimes there are issues. I don't mind telling you that. Like I logged in today and I couldn't get my TD Ameritrade even connected. And I knew that there had been a change to my TD Ameritrade login, and I completely forgot that it might affect my NinjaTrader login, and that's what happened. I got here and I couldn't log in. But it wasn't that big a deal. All I had to do was re-log in. But so understand, I'm connecting to TD Ameritrade, or Thinkorswim, as a lot of people really know it. It's really Thinkorswim, TD Ameritrade now. Charles Schwab, all the same company. Schwab bought them all. But people know it more commonly as Thinkorswim. And I'm actually looking at, on my other monitor, I'm looking at, sometimes I hate myself, I'm looking at Netflix, a real chart of Netflix. So give me a second to fix my charts now. And why did that, oh, hold on. Let's get my charts back. Come on. Netflix. NQ. And my control panel. Thank you. Okay. So I'm looking on my other monitor at a gadget from TD Ameritrade that shows me Netflix. And the reason, even though I'm looking at a Netflix price chart as part of my NinjaTrader, I don't trust the data feed as much as I do when I have a direct data feed right from the horse's mouth, TD Ameritrade. Oh, for goodness sakes, I'm sorry, folks. For TD Ameritrade. Come on, come on, come on. But I'd rather look at the TD Ameritrade chart because it's just giving me the best time, the best reaction. And I just trust it more. So, I mean, I look at both. It's not that I'm not looking at the other chart. I am, but I'm doing it on my other monitor also. And, if people are wondering, I only use 2 monitors. I'm not like trading with 12 monitors. I don't really think for what we do, you need a million monitors to trade. 2 is good. You can do it with 1. 2 is very convenient. So we have a very special setup that we use for earnings. And keep in mind, like I said, this is not a family money trade. This is not traded in the family money account. It only gets traded in our test account, because only family money trades get traded in our regular account. Because otherwise we're not being fair to you, we're not being fair to us. When we show the money that's in our account, it's not fair if we take other trades in that account. So we try to keep things separate and fair, okay? You know, if one day I make a mistake and I forget, you're not going to shoot me, it happens. And then I'll write it down and journal it, put it in my spreadsheet, and we'll remember that. So I'm going to trade Netflix. I'm going to try to trade Netflix earnings. I know from the history, all right, that Netflix is going to release their earnings very, very, very close to 4 o'clock Eastern time. Very close. Dangerously close. So close that there's a very strong possibility I'll miss the trade. Now, when you trade earnings, first of all, there's a lot of new people, so regular members, you know, deal with us for the next week or 2 or 3 as people get acclimated. But there's no crying in a corner if you miss a trade. There's a billion trades. There's always another trade. So if you miss a trade, don't worry about it. Just forget it. Go on to the next one. It just doesn't matter at all. Okay? So yeah, I could easily miss this Netflix earnings trade because of the way that we do it. And I'll show you what I mean by the way we do it. Let me see if I'll show one video. Netflix in April, the last quarter, and I have no idea how it traded. I don't remember the trade, to be honest. I don't think we made much money last quarter on Netflix. So let's see what happened. So the setup I use a one-click range trade. That's the name of the setup, and I'll show you what I mean. And the other important thing is there's something in our software called one-click bars look back, and I'll explain that also. Everything else is pretty normal. Pretty big stop. Okay, I was just looking to see what setup I used. So what's going to happen is when it gets very close to 4 o'clock, I'm going to put my orders on the chart and I'm going to manipulate them like you see me doing here. I'm moving them up and down. I'm trying to keep them away from the current price until the Netflix earnings burst and pull me into the trade. That's the way that we trade earnings. It's almost as if, in some ways, it's almost like trading our breakout trades the way you would trade them if you didn't use software. But you'd use the software for your targets, you'd use the software for your stops, you could use your targets for automating your stop move. There's lots of things you can use the software for. But unlike our breakout trades, we're not going to automatically enter. And the reason for that is with earnings, you just don't know the time they're really going to release them. And that's why this is not for someone who's never traded this way before. It's not for someone who hasn't practiced this many times. It's a strange way of trying to grab a move on earnings, okay? So it's very unusual, just keep it in mind. And it's unfortunate my last quarter Netflix video doesn't go to earnings. So I'll have to show you a previous one. Let's look at 2 quarters ago. Sometimes my old videos, I don't know if they get filed or I make so many videos, every now and then I misplace a few. It's going to happen. So I was using 14 ticks above and below the range. That's what that 14 is. I'll explain what I mean. My click look back, I used 4 bars of look back. You could use probably 4 to 6. and a 20 tick stop with targets of 7 and 30. That's what I'd probably stay with that. But so look what happens. It's very close to 4 o'clock. It's almost impossible. If you put your orders on the chart before 4 o'clock, you'll probably get filled. And you'll get filled before the earnings come out, and it'll ruin your trade. So you can't put the earnings on before 4 o'clock Eastern time. It's too early. But Netflix is really close to 4 o'clock. That's the problem. That is the problem. So, sometimes I just miss it because the market's too volatile for me to put the trades on. So I don't put the orders on. So I don't. If the market's too volatile, I'm not going to put my orders on. I don't want to spend my boss's money. See, I missed Netflix. You can see that I missed it last month. The orders needed to be on before 15 seconds after the open. So this has become a really difficult trade to take. Netflix, they used to be a little bit slower. So see how it's 4 o'clock? See how on the right side there's no movement? Watch what's going to happen here. Netflix came out 9 seconds after 4 o'clock. So you have to really have the guts to put your orders on, like 5 seconds after 4. And sometimes that might be a little bit too soon. And that's the issue. When you use the setup called the one-click range trade, instead of entering you automatically like we do in most of the trades you have all been watching over the past month or a couple of weeks, the one-click range trade is a manual entry. It won't enter and put my orders on the chart until I click the one-click range trade entry button. Then my orders will show up on the chart. Now, I knew that I missed the trade last month because it's already done. You could see that giant bar. That was the move I was hoping to catch. So I took my orders off because you don't want to be on after the move, right? We're looking for that move, just like in a breakout trade. So my orders should have been on way before they went on. They went on too late. I realized it and I canceled them, okay? And that may happen today because that's what Netflix does. It doesn't mean I'm stupid. It doesn't mean we do everything wrong. This is an unusual way to trade earnings. And like I said, it's almost for fun more than anything, for the challenge, because it's just not a real normal way to trade. I mean, people probably do it, but it's unusual. It's a little bit unusual. So I'm going to double click on the software. I'm going to use 14 ticks above and below the range. And I'm going to use the NQ. Unfortunately, it's harder to do this when the NQ is moving in one direction at the close rather than consolidating or moving up and down. Right now, this is going to be tough. I'm going to be careful. But what it might make me do, keep in mind what's going to happen is the bar look back that I'm using, this little field here, order one-click bars look back. That's the number of bars the price is going to look back, and it's going to place my orders above the high, 14 ticks, and below the low, 14 ticks. So if I use just 3 bars, I've got a pretty big range. So I think I'm okay with 3 bars, all right? I'm really okay probably with 2, but I'm going to say 3. Should be okay today. So bear with me. There's still a lot of bars that are going to show up though. So I'm going to just keep my eye on the price action. before I decide, because we've got 9 minutes, okay? We've got 9 minutes. So just remember, this is educational and fun. Don't worry if you don't know what's going on. As time passes, you're going to learn, and it's going to be fun. So all these pieces of information, we don't use all of them in every trade. A lot of them you never use, you never change. Some you do, some you don't, so don't get overwhelmed. If you hover your mouse over the command, it'll tell you what it means, okay? You have to hover just right, but it will show you what it means. In other words, ticks below the range, additional distance and ticks from the range of the boundaries. Now, sometimes we don't use the colored zones. So if we're not using the zones, which I'm not, it's still going to use the bars. Now look at the range. This is a brutally difficult. This is going to be difficult because the range of the NQ makes it really tough for us to get filled safely. And I'll show you why. So let me set up the way I would do this trade in Sim, okay? And show you what the issue is. So I'm going to use targets of 7 and 30. I'm going to use a stop of 20. I'm risking around $200. I don't have to worry about time because remember what I said, I'm entering manually because I'm choosing a one-click range trade. Just remember that. My trade type is a one-click range trade. And whether we get filled or not doesn't matter. This is educational more than anything. I've got one position for 7-tick profit, one position for a 30-tick profit, 14 ticks above the range, 14 ticks below the range. And let me give you an idea. And the bar look back I'm going to use, let's use this. Let's use right now an 8-bar look back. Let's use 6. Let's use 6. It's going to look back roughly 6 bars. And I'll show you what I mean because I'm not going to be live. I'm doing it in Sim. So when I enable the trade, my buttons show up. And when I click the one-click range entry button, it's going to go back roughly 6 bars and put my orders above and below the bars. Watch. See? So then I'm going to shrink my charts. And then if it was 4 o'clock, I'd be doing this. I'd be moving my orders. Now, I don't want to get filled, okay? I don't want to get filled early. So I might move them up and around. I might move my lower order. But I'm going to try and keep my orders away from the price, okay? But the whole idea here, folks, is am I even going to be able to get my orders on the chart before Netflix earnings come out? That's the hardest part. I might not. It all depends on whether I'm willing to get filled early. Now, I'm not trading our main account. I'm trading our test account. And my boss also uses that account. I don't want to ruin that account for him by trading carelessly or, not smart. So I'm extra careful with his account, okay, because it's smaller too than our regular account. But it doesn't change the fact about how I'm going to trade. I'm going to put my orders on the chart, 14 ticks above and below the last 6 bars that I'm looking at. That's basically what it's going to do. And I'm not chicken if I don't put my orders on. It just means my timing was off. The last thing that you'll ever see from me is caring about what somebody thinks about me or calls me. I'm not a chicken. I'm not a baby. But I'm real careful about what I do. All right. And all I'm doing here is putting our real account on, and I'm going to label the trade Netflix apply it and okay it. My charts need to be live, okay? They need to be live. Remember, when I enable the trade, it's a one-click range trade, so I'm not entering. I'm just putting my buttons on. How do you tell? Oh, trade type. Jeff and Tony, if you scroll down to trade type and click that arrow, that's where all the different types of trades are, under trade type. Now I'm going to check my time. I want my computer to be in sync. Okay. Now we know Netflix is going to move pretty big, but I may just not get my orders on fast enough to catch the move. And like I said 10 times, it's perfectly okay. We're really here for the report, the other report, you know, the oil report. That's why we're here, okay? But I like trading Netflix. It's one of the better, more possible earnings trades. If it's safe to put the orders on before the earnings come out. That's the hard part. Getting the orders on before the earnings come out. I'm just checking something. Because if you get filled early, you'll almost always lose money and get stopped out. If there's a whipsaw, you'll lose money and get stopped out. We need to move in just one direction. That's what we're looking for. Netflix usually does that. So I'm watching the actual Netflix price on the right. That will help me so that if I miss the trade, I'm not going to jump into it. I don't jump into trades late, okay? I generally don't revenge trade. I try not to do any of the bad habits that, you know, I used to do years ago. But the big issue is I just do not know if I'm going to be able to get the trade off. That's the truth. And it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't mean I'm stupid. I don't feel dumb if I don't get the trade off. It means I just missed it. Okay? So I'm going to watch real carefully right now. And right about 4 o'clock, I'm really going to try and put my orders on and take the shot. Yes, my boss will kill me if I lose his money, but it's okay. That's my job. So I'm listening to Financial Juice in the background also because I want to know when Netflix earnings come out, and they will know. So let's see what happens. It's 4 o'clock. There might be a burst at 4 o'clock that won't allow me to put my orders on. See, it didn't look that bad. Right now, it doesn't look that bad. Netflix earnings are out. And we hit both of them. See how we did it? I hit both my targets. You see how I knew they were out? So, folks, I made $185 for my boss in about 20 seconds. Fred, I bet you made money on that. I know Fred trades this with me, and he's not afraid to do it. Look at that move. Look at the move. But see how close it was to 4 o'clock? Fred, you made 155. Beautiful, beautiful. Now I was nervous as all heck. I don't mind telling you, my heart is beating like you would not believe. You would not believe how my heart is beating. It's so nerve wracking to trade this way. Okay. I'm going to disconnect my Netflix now. I don't care what happens now. We're here now for the oil trade. Langford, beautiful. You're learning fast. Langford is pretty new. He's learning fast. Jeff and Tony, learning fast also. So, folks, does everybody understand what I did? I'm just wondering, everybody that's here, do you understand what I did? Or is it so confusing that you have no idea what I was doing? Type in if you understood what I was doing. Now, I'm going to reboot my platform, okay? Hey, Robert, nice to see you in the room. Okay, Cliff, you're new to this type of trading. You did a good job, though. How'd you make money if you didn't know what I was doing? Now, oh my goodness, did I blow my video out? I can't believe it. I have a video, but I can't re-show it. No, it's here. It's here. Okay, let me save the video. We're going to go to oil. Say bye. Thanks, YouTube. Everybody on YouTube, you watched us trade Netflix. We made $185 in 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Give us a like before I go. Like our stream, and we'll let you know when the next stream is because it's tomorrow, so keep an eye. And thanks for watching, YouTube. Appreciate it.